Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of JC Culture Cast, a Jersey City-based podcast with the purpose of raising cultural awareness and giving members of the Jersey City community a platform to express their culture and connect with others. My name is Mark Raja, and today I will be having a discussion with Rashad Wright, a Jersey City Poet Laureate. Rashad, would you like to introduce yourself a little more?
Hello everybody. Yeah, my name is Rashad Wright. I'm the one-time poet laureate of Jersey City. So that was from 2018 to 2020. Since then, I've published, I've acted, I have a couple of projects I'm probably going to be talking about today, and you'll learn more about me soon.
Nice, nice. Could you talk to us a little bit more about your poetry career, how you got into it, what you have done so far?
Okay. Well, I've been performing and writing poetry for the last 8 years. I was a member of Jersey City Slam for like maybe 6 years back in the day. And I coached that team. I was the Grand Slam champ of that team twice. And I competed at national tournaments, and the best I've done was 25th in the country. Um, yeah.
That's nice. I actually know some friends that are interested in doing like slam poetry and national competitions. Do you have any advice for them? Are there
Okay.
certain things they should do to prepare?
Slam has changed significantly in the last 2 or 3 years, but there are local colleges that all have teams. I know Newark still has a functioning team for adults and anyone that's not collegiate. Aside from that, I coach and teach, and whether or not it's for performance, I can still get someone up to that level, whether or not they'll be competing or not.
Great, great. I understand. I understand.
Hmm.
So let's switch some topics real quick.
Okay.
You actually have a book available on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken, titled
Correct.
Romeo's Whiskey. It's basically a coming of age story that combines like poetry and memoir. So could you talk a little bit more about that? If people are interested and like why they should purchase it?
Thank you for asking. I actually the book is being taught right now at NJCU. It's basically a memoir detailing my life from age 5 to 21. In the beginning of the book, it's me watching my mother and the poison she takes for the things that she loves. By the end of the book, we realize what poisons I learned to take in order to cope with having or getting what I love, the same way Romeo sort of drinks that poison to get what he loves and wants. It's also called Romeo's Whiskey because that's Army phonetics. So R is Romeo, W is whiskey, A is alpha, B is Bravo is a whole alphabet, and R and W are my initials, and Romeo's whiskey.
You mentioned that it talks about the poisons that your mother had to kind of like deal with. So, how big a role did your mother play in your upbringing or your poetry career?
Hmm. She's basically the main character of the book. I'm just a kid watching her. She's a single mother, raised me by herself. Woman of color, migrated from South Carolina, was an aspiring model, and had to give all that up because she had a son and she moved into a very different neighborhood with a very different support system than what she had growing up. So she took to cigarettes and has been smoking for as long as I can remember. And I saw that as a source of strength and something normal for her. So, like, no matter what we went through, she still had her cigarettes. And everyone has something, no matter how dark life may get, they have something that makes them feel normal or sane or just like that thing they can hold on to. And the whole book is me discovering what that thing is for me. I see it in the book. I examine my dad and I see what it is in him that gets him through the hard times too.
Nice. Just remember, everyone listening. It's available on Amazon. Romeo's Whiskey. Definitely check it out. I know I am for sure.
Appreciate y'all.
So next question would be, what were your favorite poets slash writers growing up as a kid and now?
Um, in the slam community, I looked up to Rudy Francisco. Ever since like what 2015, 2016, back when I was first getting into slam. Saw his videos on YouTube, loved it. Aside from that, I read everyone from the Black Arts movement in the 70s, Nikki Giovanni, Sonia Sanchez, Amiri Baraka. Yeah, a bunch of different writers. Claudia Rankine is my favorite. Her book Citizen directly inspired the cover to my book Romeo's Whiskey. The cover to that book is just Trayvon's hoodie, like up against a white background. Um, yeah, my book was based heavily on that.
Nice, nice. Next question would be how one should enter poetry, especially like I mentioned earlier, some of my friends, which are high schoolers, are interested in entering the field of poetry. Like, do you have any advice for them?
Okay.
Yeah, that's basically it.
There's two different ways to talk about that. On one end, what I call myself as a performance poet. So, me being on stage is a heavy part of my writing process, of my creativity. So, for me, I needed to be at open mics. I needed to be at performance focused events. If you're just writing poetry, that's different. Uh, as far as everything that was in my book, I learned and wrote most of that in my courses at NJCU. So if you want to publish and print, that your road is the classroom. If you want to perform, your road is open mics, slams, competitions. You don't need. I'm not I'm anti believing that you need to go to school to do anything, and creative writing certainly isn't the thing that you need to go to school to do, but it is an option, and that option helped me. If if you don't want to go to the classroom, find someone that's writing, someone local like me. Like if someone like a friend of mine was at a competition and she liked my work and she was in high school, so she asked me to come to her high school and coach her club. I did that happily. Find someone that you look up to, find a mentor, they'll teach you how to write. I have an apprentice right now. It's something I don't see people do too often, but definitely a resource that poets would love to give to another community that's interested.
Yeah, thank you. That's actually great advice. I'm sure a lot of people listening could use that if they're interested in, and not just poetry, but pretty much all forms of just writing or art. So yeah, thank you for that
Agreed.
a lot. I just never really had that perspective before.
Yeah. Artists are people, we're teachers, and the opportunity to teach is such an affirmation to an artist. So yeah, we'd love to take on mentors and apprentice in general.
Okay. Um, can you talk to us about the Chill Brown? Based
Oh,
on our research, I think it's a band of yours.
um, thanks for asking. My band is called Chill Brown. We're queer friendly. We just performed at JC Pride. We call ourselves Chill Brown because we're all from or based in Jersey City, aka Chilltown, and we're all people of color. So Chill Brown. We do like a mix of neo soul and poetry. So we sound a lot like the internet, and I'm doing poetry alongside to accompany our instrumentalists and our vocalists. We're about 5 people deep right now. Yeah,
Do you guys have any like future plans set in? Is it more of like a go with the flow type thing? What's going on?
we're working on an EP right now. Right now, the only thing that's published is our lead singer has a couple of songs under the name Ezzy Nightingale. Um, some of those songs may one or two of those songs may be on our group album. We're still working on it, but right now we mainly do live performances.
Nice, nice, nice. And then how do people usually contact you to do those live performances, if I may ask?
Basically through our Instagram account at the Real Chill Brown. For me, I'm at Wright Raw. That's right, WRITE_RAW. Um, I'm in another band called Somebody Else's Kids. We do a bunch of improvisational poetry and music. We have a horn player, a drummer, a bass player, a guitarist. There's a backup vocalist. Um, any type of performance that you want or need, you can find me. And even if it's not a band I'm in, we'll find someone for any type of event, any type of vibe energy. It's pretty easy.
Right, that sounds dope. I actually like that.
Appreciate it. You got a lot of info on me. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. We looked at your profile. We thought you were very interesting, and we thought you would suit our podcast. So that's why you're here. And we're gonna shift. Talking about that, we're gonna shift a little bit more into the influences of being a person of color now.
Okay.
So I guess the first question to kind of like kick that off would be, do you think your culture or ethnic background contributed to your upbringing and continues to contribute to your current career?
Hmm. Definitely. Um, I identify as someone that is black and African. I call myself African American. My family, we're several generations removed. How far back? In Jersey City, and because of just being like a working class African American family, I didn't have the resources to fund my college education. I had to enlist in the military, so I was a National Guard for 6 years, just because I didn't have the financial resources to fund college on my own. I think that's a common experience in the black community, especially black men. We don't have, we're not introduced to as many options as others might have. So the army or military um, becomes a very open option to anyone that happens to also be able-bodied like myself. Um, so if I wasn't able-bodied, I'm not sure if I would have had a college education or the opportunity to do that.
I understand. And you mentioned that you served 6 years for the Coast Guard,
National Guard.
National Guard. How do you think you think that changed you in any bit? Did like that experience give you kind of like some inspiration for your
Um,
future works?
Believe it or not, uh, I've had some of the hardest times in my life while in uniform. The military was a very hard place for me to be. Uh, I didn't. I'm not someone that supports the military or um, occupying other nations, but being a soldier, being in uniform, seeing other people in uniform, people from very similar backgrounds as me, people from very different backgrounds than me, very different ideologies, having to sleep next to, trust, and fight for someone that might have completely different views than me to the point of tension and conflict. Was an eye-opening experience. Um, I learned that I can love and get along with anyone, even if I disagree with them on a base level. So yeah, I learned a lot in the military.
All right. The next question would be, do you believe POC or people of color have a disadvantage heading into fields of art such as poetry?
Um, that's complicated. Uh, on a base level, if we're talking about opportunity and access, of course, I think having as much privilege in any way would help. Um, for example, I had trouble getting access to college. I'm not sure if I would have been able to secure as stable as a title in poetry or the writing realm if I didn't have college education, which I only had because I was able-bodied. Imagine if I had privileges in other areas. It might have been easier to navigate. When I graduated college, I didn't really have too much money to publish or invest in my art as people of higher income backgrounds might. So having privileges oh, a family that may have been able to pay for my college. I might have had some financial support in independent projects. That's music videos for some people. That's someone funding a screenplay so you can get a play out. I just have to do all these things by myself. So a lot of writers of color, we don't have that capital to start off with. So when we leave that classroom, we're just hoping that someone really likes us and wants to back us financially, because we can't do that on our own and we don't have other people to do that as well. So having privilege definitely helps artists, but not having it, you just kind of gotta cross your fingers and hope you're good enough, which isn't okay or safe or healthy. It's not sustainable.
Next question would be, what do you think the importance is behind inserting your experiences into forms of art, such as poetry, and can cultural background and tradition be a part of this?
Um, well, I am of the school of thought that the personal is very political. So no matter what an artist creates, self is going to be reflected, represented, and is going to be given life no matter what. Um, you can't have art without an identity, without influence of the artist. I don't believe is art. I believe art is inherently manipulative. So the second an artist creates something, it's meant to affect people in a certain way. That's a form of manipulation. And I believe it's impossible not to impose yourself on your art, on your creation. So everything is going to have culture, identity, race, all of these hard to tackle and to talk about things in it because it's from an artist.
I understand that's definitely a perspective that I kind of understood, but now it's way more clear to me. So
Okay.
thank you for that. So thank you for those were the questions that we had regarding, just how ethnicity plays a prominent role in society and how our purpose of raising cultural awareness is important. And yeah, and I think that you definitely tackled a lot of topics that we wanted to bring to the surface around uh,
Appreciate it.
forms of art for people of color. So we thank you a lot for that. So we'll end off with some questions, just a little bit more about you. So the first question that we have is, do you have a favorite poem of yours and what's the meaning behind it?
I have a poem that I've been calling Intro. There's a video on YouTube of it by Joan Michelle. I think that's all one word at Joan Michelle on her Instagram page. Intro is like it's the poem that I read when I was named poet laureate back in 2018. Um, it's basically like my goal in art is to make poetry that is three dimensional, meaning you hear this piece, you can feel it, you can smell it, you can taste it, like it it triggers all of a person's senses to create a full experience. That is a three-dimensional poem that I believe. The performance is also three-dimensional. It's very encapsulating. You hear that poem, you see that, it feels as if you've met me. That was my goal, and that's something I feel is achieved every time I perform that piece. So yeah, you can find the video on YouTube. I believe it's called "How I Would Introduce Myself."
Nice. Thank you. I'll definitely check it out. And anybody listening, I encourage that you check out everything that we've pretty much brought up so far. So I think the last question would be, are there any important values that hold importance in your life based on everything that you've just gone through? Especially, going through the upbringing of a poet, a person of color in Jersey City.
Yes, yes, thank you. I think a trap that they teach a lot of people of color in many different circles for multiple reasons is probably is like a survival mechanism. They teach us to be selfless. We're taught to make sure that everyone else feels comfortable. We're taught to make sure that everyone else feels like the most important person in the room. And when we do that for others, um, that sometimes might not be translated to us. We're never affirmed that we're the most important person in the room. No one's ever looking out for us to say that we deserve to belong here. We deserve to be proud of who we are. That's not something that's often communicated. And when I say that, it sounds like it's out of nowhere. But if you think about the Black church, one of the biggest things that's preached and taught of is why a person should consistently and constantly be humble. In the military, they practice very stoic beliefs, and there's actually one of our core military values is all around selfless service. We have these ideas that we're supposed to completely give ourselves up to these causes, to these institutions, to these places, to be selfless and humble. And what that does is we'll take in things we don't deserve as a form of humility, like, oh, I don't need that extra $2-3 per hour. I'm going to stay humble. I'm going to allow someone else to have that opportunity or that chance. Uh, I think we need to be more selfish because the scraps that we are given aren't enough. Just because we can survive off very little, just because we can survive off scraps, doesn't mean we have to or should. I think that's a trap that people of color, specifically in the church, in the military, from my personal experiences, that's a message that we're given like from birth.
Thank you. Thank you a lot. With that, we are out of time. Thank you for those who are listening for staying in tuned. Our social media accounts will be in the description along with Rashad's social media accounts. Make sure you check everything out, such as his book, Romeo's Whiskey, available on Amazon. And just check out his Instagram as well if you're interested in poetry, looking at his art so far. We looked at it as a group and we enjoyed it. So we would definitely recommend it. So with that being said, Rashad, is there anything else that you would like to add or say?
No, I just like to say thank you for what you're doing. As someone that is from Jersey City, I'm glad to see that someone is taking this time to affirm and create a unified cultural identity for our city. Proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you a lot. It means a lot.
Hmm.
Okay. So with that being said, goodbye, everybody.
Peace.